The story for today is going to be about integrating trigonometric functions. I will tell you how to integrate some of them, and then there will be quite amazing implications in physics, in radio, how the radio works, and calculus, and those computations will be very central in how that physics works. But what we need to do is we need to recall some trigonometric identities, and those are the ones you have to memorize. So let me recall those. Cosine of the sum of the angles of alpha plus beta. And I'm telling you the way I do remember those. So I memorized these four. So the cosine of the sum is cosine of alpha times cosine of beta minus sine alpha times sine beta. Cosine of the difference is similar, except for minus, there we have plus. So it's cosine alpha cosine beta plus sine alpha sine beta. And also for the sine function, the sine of the sum is sine alpha times cosine beta plus cosine alpha times sine beta. And for the sine of the difference, it's sine alpha cosine beta minus cosine alpha sine beta. And now what I use these for is I group them in pairs, and I will use them for the formulas about the product of sines and cosines in all possible combinations. So I will look at these first two identities and I will add them up. And if I add them up, then one term on the right cancels. It shows up with different signs. So the right-hand side will be twice that term, the product of cosines. And this is what I want. I want the formula for cosine alpha times cosine beta. So it will be twice that term on the right and sum of cosines on the left. So the product is 1/2 of the sum of cosines. Cosine of alpha plus beta minus cosine of alpha minus beta. So this way I have formula for the product of cosines of different arguments. Now if I subtract these two, then on the right hand side the product of cosines cancels. And the product of sines remains there with coefficient 2. And if I subtract first from the second to make the coefficient with the product of sines positive, I will have sine alpha times sine beta equals 1/2 of cosine of alpha minus beta minus cosine of alpha plus beta. And the only thing remaining is the product of cosine and sine. And that part I get from the second pair. I look at the second pair of identities and I just add them up so that the second term cancels. The first remains with coefficient 2, and that term says sine alpha times cosine beta multiplied by 2 equals the sum of those sines. Sine of alpha plus beta plus sine of alpha minus beta. And personally, I never remember those formulas. I always derive them from these.